영원히 나만을 바라본대. Love is so wonderful. 영원히 나만을 바라본대. Happily ever then.
버럭하는 얼굴 보고 저기 와 그냥 하는 사이랑 발짱 끼나 봐 맘에 들면 꼭 두 개씩 걸러는 뭐든지 참 무섭지 너네 둘이 만들 드라마 매일 가득
Welcome back to my channel, and today we'll be talking about texturism and colorism and basically everything about it. Basically, texturism is basically discriminating against somebody who has more like curlier hair, who has more like, you know, hair that's like 4C, 4B, 4A, like those textures, because they're known to be like curlier, they're known to be like seen as like bad hair, or like nappy hair, like any connotations between having a hair type, and people be like, oh, their hair is ugly, their hair is nappy, their hair is this and that, because it's like seen as bad hair because it's not loose, and it's not, oh, it's like, oh, I can't just run my hands through it and all that stuff, because it's seen as like bad hair. And I feel like a lot of times when you have those connotations, it's bad because there are like, you know, young girls, like young black girls that have those hair types, and because like it's seen as like bad, sometimes what happens is that they don't know how to take care of it and all stuff, which isn't their fault. And another thing is that they're gonna think their hair is ugly, and it's gonna be, since it's seen as ugly, they're gonna think their hair is ugly, and they're not gonna really have anybody to tell them that it's beautiful, because like when you have a society, you have a media that it's like, oh, your hair is ugly because it's like more curlier than the other hair types, it's gonna be very damaging to their self-esteem. And on top of that, they're gonna have like a lack of representation, and when they do have that representation, the representation is gonna be like, oh, your hair is ugly, and and they start to doing this and that and the third, and then on top of that, they're probably gonna experience a lot of things like, bullying and all that stuff, which isn't fair to them, because like it's not your fault that you were born with this hair type, and it's not your fault that the media is in a way of like, it benefits like people who look different from you and who have more not slim, but more European features. It's not your fault. That's just how, you know, the world works, you know. That's another thing that people, I remember this person talking about how pretty privilege is like basically people having European features and all that stuff and being deemed as beautiful, but then they have like more Afrocentric features and it's like deemed as ugly because they don't look like them, which is true, because I feel like online or whatever in the world, it's like if you don't have certain features, you're going to be deemed as ugly and you're going to be deemed as like unattractive. And I feel like that's just what pretty privilege is. Like, that's what I just feel like it is and can be. I am so sorry. I'm having a literal wardrobe malfunction on camera. I'm so sorry about that. And then you have like colorism, which is basically the discrimination of a person because of their skin tone. Either it's like, sorry, because their skin tone is like darker and stuff like that. And that's also like very damaging too, because there's like a thing in where like certain communities that have like, oh, you're darker or you're lighter and stuff like that, like the light skin versus dark skin, be like, oh, I'll date a light skin because they're this and that, having the quotations because someone is light skin that they have these attributes, or because someone is dark skin that they have these attributes. Right? For example, people like, oh, she's dark skin so she can take it, she doesn't have emotions, she's hard, she's aggressive, or she's light skin, she's soft, she's feminine. When it's like, you can be any of those things and be a skin type. It does not matter. Just because someone has a certain skin tone doesn't mean that they have this coloration. But I feel like for some people they run with that because they're like, oh, she's light skin, she's this, oh, she's dark, she's this. And then they had like the whole brown skin debate where it's like, to them it's like, oh, if this person, some people make it more complex than it is because they're like, oh, comes in different shades and stuff like that. But I feel like brown skin and dark skin is the same thing, but then people are like, oh, brown skin means like you're too light, you're too dark to be brown. No, it's like you're not light enough to be considered light skin, but you're also not dark enough to be considered dark skin, so they just give you brown skin. So there's also that connotation to it. And then you have texturism and colorism itself, which to me is like I don't know how to explain it. It's like comes in two things in one, because it's like, oh, if your hair, if you have like, if you're darker skin or whatever, then you're like discriminated against. And if you're lighter skin, no, and then if you have like a certain hair texture, you're gonna be discriminated. But it's like if it's easier for you to be lighter skin and have one bad feature than for you to be darker skin and have one good feature. Like, for example, you have like Ice Spice, right? She's lighter skin, but she has like a more Afrocentric features. Like her hair is like 4C and her nose is like, would be seen as big or whatever. But because she's light skinned, she got away with it. If she was like somebody named, if she was like Flo Milli, or she was like Gorilla or whatever, guarantee she would not have gotten away with it. And that's another thing when it comes down to rappers and singers and stuff like that are dark skin. They're only going to be represented in the media when they're doing certain things, like when they're shaking their ass. However, you can be a lighter skin, a singer or whatever, and be mediocre and get away with it because they have that thing and that quality. And I'm not saying, oh, I'm saying this because I'm bitter at me because I'm not light skinned or whatever. I'm just saying it because that is what the media portrays. If the media portrayed a different thing, then I would have said that. But this is just my opinion from what I've seen in the media and what I've seen in living in certain areas. And just my experience all in all. If I had a different experience, I would have said something different, but I didn't. Is there anything else I can say? Oh yeah. Then there is Featurism, which I mix Featurism and Texturism up, but basically they're similar, but they're not the same thing. Then there's Featurism, and where like if you have like features that are more Afrocentric, they're going to be seen as ugly because like you have those features. However, if you are lighter skin but you have those features, you're fine because they're going to be looked as exotic looking because your skin tone will even it out for you. For example, if you have a big nose, or if you have like I guess like really big lips or whatever, just like things that are deemed as like unattractive in society or whatever. I wouldn't say having big lips is deemed as unattractive, but it's like, it depends on how like you look with these features and your skin tone and stuff like that. They would be deemed as unattractive or whatever. But that's what I'm trying to say. Like, okay, let's just go and deem something. It's like big nose. Just go with that. So if you have a big nose, of course that's Featurism because society, they don't really like big noses like that. It's just like now that you see on TikTok that people are talking about, oh, I like big noses. They're so unique, even though it's seen as a bad thing. That's Featurism because society does not like big noses. And you're less likely to be seen as beautiful because you have a big nose. Society is more into small noses, like Eurocentric noses, like button noses and Tinkerbell noses and stuff like that. Society don't like that. Or what else does society not like? I don't know. But you know, that's just what I'm trying to say. And then you have like a lot of these like girls that go through all of these like certain things and all of that, and they don't fit like the beauty standards or whatever, and you know, they get picked on and all that stuff, and you know, they have to like rebuild their self-esteem because they have to learn that they're beautiful no matter what society thinks, and then you know, their life gets backtracked. That's just my video on it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Love y'all.